And you're going to turn on the mixer and let it mix until the dough starts to come together. So it's not a liquid anymore. I'm going to show you what it looks like now, so you can see. It's just starting to come together, but it's still dry and crumbly. Nice perfect ball, rather than just rolling it like this. You're going to take it in your hands, just like this, and you're going to tuck under all the sides to pinch to the bottom, like that, until you have a nice little round ball at the top. Give it a little, whatever you want to call it, roll. And now you have your dough ball, okay? Now, another important thing is you're going to take these dough balls that you made and you're going to put them on parchment paper on a sheet pan, okay? Something that someone taught me, which makes it super, super easy, is to either buy already made, already cut up parchment paper squares, or take parchment paper and cut it into squares and put each dough ball on its own parchment paper square on a cookie sheet. Okay, you're going to spray it with some Pam and cover it loosely with saran wrap. Okay, then you're going to let it sit there and rise for about an hour. Okay, and then at that point, after an hour, you can start to fry your donuts. Hold on, I'm going to get my oil ready. Okay, in the meantime, I'm going to get my oil ready because it takes a while for the oil to get hot. And then I'm going to show you how to, while I'm doing that, I'm going to show you how to roll out like a classic, regular round donut. Let me just move my mixer out of the way so I have this. I like to use my wooden board over here. Yes, we're going to make fun of my bowl, my family. I know, thank you. Okay, so generally you're going to use about a pound of dough per rolling out. So if you have a scale, again, use it. It's a very good thing to have. If you don't have a scale, don't. It's fine. This is a lot more than it's about a pound. Okay. So you're going to put a little bit of flour on your board to start with. Okay. You're going to pat out the air from your dough because you don't want it to be too high. And you're going to roll it out. One mistake that people make when they're rolling out donut dough is that they roll it too thin. And if you roll it too thin, you're not going to get a nice high donut. You want to get a nice thick donut, like you get a Dunkin' Donuts Krispy Kreme. You want your dough to be about 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch thick, which, by the way, is very deceiving because you're going to say, oh, that's 1/4 inch. It really isn't. It's really much flatter. Okay, so I actually have a ruler that I always keep in my kitchen for this purpose. And you'll see here, 1/2 inch is a lot more than we think it is. I'm going to check my dough right now. My dough here is 1/4 inch. Okay, so I'm going to use my my cutter. You should always dip it in flour. It helps a lot. Okay, and I'm going to cut out starting at the edge so that you don't waste too much space around your thing. You're going to cut out a donut. Okay, and save your centers for your donut munchkins you can make. And I cut out my donut here. Let me just find something to pick it up with so I don't, it doesn't fall apart. I have my bench scraper. You can use, if you have a scraper or a spatula or something so you don't lose your shape of your donut. Pick it up very, very carefully and put it on your parchment paper. I want you to see how thick it is. It's really, really, really thick and pillowy. That's about a little more than 1/4 inch. It's almost about 1/2 inch, okay? And you're gonna do the same thing. You're gonna cover it with your pan, spray it with Pam, put it on a baking sheet and cover it with saran wrap and let it rise for about an hour. You'll know when it's risen. I'm going to show you what the dough looks like when it's risen so that you'll know when you're doing your own how to know when to fry it up, okay? So the other thing is that if you wanted to not do the other method, instead of rolling out the balls the way I did it to make classic soup ganiyot, is that you can also cut it out with a cookie cutter, okay? You can also make the dough in advance, put it in a ball, one big ball in a bowl, cover it and put it in your fridge. You could do that, okay? Take it out, let it come to room temperature, let it rise, and then do your thing. If you want to freeze it, which is what I'm doing, because one recipe makes about 30 donuts. So you can freeze it and take a few out every night of Hanukkah, or 2-3 times, whatever you want to do. If you want to freeze them, what you do is exactly what I did just now. Roll it into your shape, spray it with Pam, put it on a cookie sheet, and put it in your freezer like that. As soon as it gets frozen, you can take all of the little donut balls, put it in a Ziploc bag, because they won't stick together anymore at that point. And then when you're ready to use them, take out as many as you want, put them on individual parchment squares, spray it, cover it with saran wrap very lightly, and just let it sit on your counter until it's a frost, comes through in temperature and starts to rise. That whole process will take about 4 to 6 hours. Depends on how cold your house is. And then your donut's ready to rise. They're ready to fry. So I'm just gonna check on my oil to see if it's ready. Hold on. Okay, I'm gonna turn my camera here so you can see where I'm frying. So I don't want to be turning my back to you, but I also need to be able to get to the pot here. So I like to use a Dutch oven when I fry. I just started using a Dutch oven when I was frying. Last year I didn't, and I noticed a huge difference in the donut, the oil, the temperature, all that. It made a very big difference. So if you have a Dutch oven or the heaviest pot you have, that's what you should use, okay? Before you fry, you need to make sure you have everything ready, because you have to be able to work very fast, okay? The donuts only go in the oil about a minute on each side, about a minute and a half, okay? You need something to scoop your donut out with. Really, ideally, you should use one of these, but this is meat, and I'm making all of mine carbs, so I'm gonna use something else, but this is what you're using when you scoop your donut out of the oil. You're gonna need the tongs, because we're gonna put our donut in the oil on the parchment paper, on those little squares. This way it doesn't deflate when you pick it up to put it in the oil. It's gonna stay nice and together, and then you're gonna use your tongs to pull out the oil, the parchment paper from the oil. And you are going to need a cookie sheet. So you're gonna line with a paper towel and a wrap that you're gonna put on your paper towel on your cookie sheet. This way all the oil is gonna drain out, and the donut's not sitting in its own oil. Because if it's sitting in the oil, it's gonna be soggy and not good, okay? And again, the most important thing, like I said, is your thermometer. You want your oil to be really nice and hot, okay? Let's see what the next step is. Okay, so I made a batch in advance so that I can show you what the dough looks like. Let me go grab it. I'm going to show you how they look. They came out, they look really good once they're risen. And that's how you're going to know that when your dough's ready, you're going to know, because it comes up, they poof up, they're very, very light. And if I tap it with my finger, it's gonna spring back at me. That's how you know it's ready. These I made yesterday, I froze them. So they came from my freezer this morning, and they were in the fridge all day. And then about 2.5, 3 hours ago, I took them out, covered, and they finished rising. And now they're beautiful and risen. And when I'm ready to fry it, I'm just gonna keep it on this little parchment paper, and I'm gonna dump it right in the oil on the paper. Because if I would try to take it off the paper now to put in the oil, it's gonna start to deflate. You want it to be as nice and round and, you know, as a shape as you want. I don't recommend doing it on a paper plate like I did, because they stick together. There wasn't enough room for them to rise. So they got a little bit misshapen, but it will be okay. Okay, it takes a while for your oil to get nice and hot, but you can't rush that step. You cannot try to fry anything before your oil's at the right temperature, or it won't work. Does anyone have any questions at this point? Because once I start frying it, it's like the next step. So just as far as the dough goes, any question about how to make the dough, how to know if your dough is at the right texture or anything? Any questions?
You go over the right texture again real quick.
For which part? Before you rise it or after?
Before, because I want to make sure my dough is ready to rise right now.
I'm going to show you. Oh, this, okay. This is a smaller piece of it. It's not too dry. It's not too dry, but it's squishy and it's smooth. It's nice and smooth. It's elastic and it's smooth, okay? And then you're only gonna let it rise about 10 minutes, because you just kind of want it to like set. It doesn't need to have, unless you're rolling it out, then you need a little longer. But that's how you know when it's ready. It doesn't need a long rise time. The dough, you kind of just know when it's done. I don't know how to describe it, but it's very smooth. As opposed to the beginning, when you first let it rest, that first 2 minutes was like very, very shaggy and dry. Once it comes together and is done, it's a very, very smooth dough.
As smooth as challah dough, right?
Correct. It's literally working with challah. It's going to be a lot lighter than challah dough, but
Okay.
it's challah dough. Like my mother used to always tell me, it feels like a baby's fat thigh.
Okay.
You squish the baby fat, that's what it should feel like, you know? But then just let it rest, like cover it with a kitchen towel or something, in a greased bowl. A little bit of spray pan on a bowl, put it in there, cover it with a towel, and just let it rest for 10 minutes. My oil is getting up to the temperature slowly, takes time. Also, if you're gonna do like the method of freezing them and taking out a little bit every night, another thing just to know is that as long as your oil doesn't burn, you don't have a lot of pieces in your oil, you can save your oil from night to night. So like I'm using the same pot as I used last night, so I didn't even take the oil out. I just let it cool off, I covered it and I put it away. But you could use the funnel and pour it into a bottle and use oil again tonight, so you're not wasting. Because you're gonna need like 2 quarts of oil to fry donuts. You need a lot, halfway up your pot. So you definitely don't want to throw it all out. You definitely want to save it if you can, because you don't want to be so wasteful if you don't need to be. If you fry at the right temperature, you're also, it's not absorbing a lot of oil, so you'll still have almost all of it left afterwards. We're just almost at our temperature. And then I'm going to move the camera over there so you can watch how I fry it. Continue cutting some of the other ones out over here in the meantime, so I can have my donuts for Shabbos. I'm going to make a bunch of them. Absorb some moisture. It's not going to stay dry like this is. The one, like you can see the ones that I have risen already here. They're nice and shiny on the top, and they rose very nicely, even if it's a little bit dry here. Just a few more minutes. And I'll show you how we rise it up there. So your little donut balls are going to look like a golf ball when you first put it down. As it starts to rise, you'll see they did start to flatten a little bit. You see how these are not perfectly round anymore, but the one that I set to rise on my parchment paper is literally like a golf ball. Okay, so that's another way that you're going to know it's ready to fry. If you try to put this in the oil now to fry, the whole thing is going to sink to the bottom. When you're frying something that's risen and properly risen and ready to fry, it will not sink and it will actually float to the top, which is what you want it to do. And you want it to float, and then you're going to have to flip it over. Okay, about 1 more minute, and I'm going to show you how to fry them up. That's the best part. It's like so satisfying. It actually you get like a real big donut, you know? The hardest part is not eating it as soon as you make it, because it has to cool off before you can fill them. So that's the hardest part. If you wanted to roll out balls like this, make munchkins, just do half the size. Like I do about 60 grams, 60 to 70 grams for a full-size donut, like a bakery-size donut. And if you want to do a munchkin, it would be like 30 grams, okay? So, a little bit too big. Okay, so my oil is ready over here. I'm gonna turn this a little bit so you can see, and I'm gonna try to not lock the, okay. You want to keep your eye on the temperature on the thermometer, because if it spikes too high, then your donut's going to get so brown you're not going to like how it looks, okay? So you're going to take it with the parchment square. You're going to dump it right into your oil, like that, on the square. You can do about 2 or 3 at a time in the pot. Just don't overcrowd it. If you overcrowd it, it's going to, the oil temperature will drop so much and it won't cook nicely. So I'm going to do about 3 of them in my pot. This is a 5-quart pot. I had about, filled it halfway up with oil, okay? And as soon as it goes in there, I'm talking, so I'm not showing you. You want to use your tongs, and you always want to have like a bowl or something next to you, so you don't have grease all over your house. And pull out the squares of parchment paper and dump it into a bowl. This way, it just makes it easier cleaning up flies, okay? And you're gonna let it fry for about a minute on each side. And I wanna see if this works, hold on, I'm gonna see if this works if I take you guys over there, okay? 1 second. Don't mind this, I just wanna show you how you see that? How they poofed up? They got really, really nice and poofy, okay? So we're gonna let it cook for about, like I said, a minute to a minute and a half on each side, okay? Hold on, bring you back to where you were so I can have my hands to flip it, hold on. Sorry, it's hard to do that. Okay, and you'll know when they're ready to flip, when they get a nice brown texture, brown color, I'm sorry. So I'm gonna show you now the color before I go to the next step, just before I even turn it over, just so you can see. See that? You see the tan line? That's what we call the tan line. You wanna have a tan line in your donut, okay? And flip it. Get your little tan line. And do another minute on the side. They're gonna be a dark brown color, that's normal. You just don't want it to burn, okay? But again, keep your eye on your oil. If oil gets too hot, lower your flame. My oil just went up to 380 and that's too hot. So you're gonna lower your flame until you get to the right, keep adjusting it until you get it. But again, if you use a heavy bottom pot, like I feel like a Dutch oven, it will make a difference in your oil temperature staying consistent rather than like a very lightweight pan. And they're gonna puff up a lot. Like you're really gonna puff up. That's how you know you let them rise a lot. And they're gonna be the size of a bakery donut if you did 60 grams. So I'm just gonna fry another minute or so on the other side. And then get ready to put the next ones in. So the other thing is that you want your dough to rise for about about an hour before you start frying it. So think about the process of rolling out 30 donuts and letting it lay out to rise takes about a half hour or so. So you could start frying your first half of your donuts, work your way over to the end. So by the time you get towards the end of your donuts, all your donuts are risen. If you are short on time. You can always start with the ones that you work, the ones that you fried first, let those go, and then do the last ones. Okay. So these are ready to come out. I'm gonna show you what one looks like when it comes out of the oil. Get it over here. I'm gonna burn my hand, but let's put it down on the thing. Okay. Like I said, we call the tan line. You want to have a nice line here, and look at the size of that. Look how it puffed up, literally like a bakery donut, okay? So I'm gonna take them all out, and you're gonna take it out using something like a slotted frying tool, because you really want to try to get the oil out. You don't want to have too much oil in your donuts. Okay? If you're going to use munchkin, if you're frying munchkins, keep an eye on them, because those obviously they go a lot faster, and you really don't want to burn them. Okay, and just drop these in with the parchment paper. Okay, another thing is that if you leave the parchment paper on for too long, you're going to get like funny tan lines on the back of your donut. So if you don't like the color of it, and I'm gonna show you one that I did that had that line, you can just turn it back over and let it fry for another second just to get rid of the color. But you're gonna cover it anyway because you're not gonna care. But like, see this donut has like some white spots here and white spot here. It's because I left the parchment paper on too long, so it didn't heat all the way through when I started frying it. So you want to you can always flip it back in the oil and give it a second to finish cooking. You don't like how it came out. Okay, we're gonna let those go for the time that they need. Let's flip them over. Ooh, I got a big puffer on that one. What happened there? Okay, while they're frying, I'm gonna get my filling so I can show you how to fill the donuts. One second. I'm gonna do a regular jelly filling, but you could do like a custard filling or chocolate or whatever. People like to melt Nutella, just melt it in the microwave, or you can melt peanut butter or like cookie butter, anything like that. You can melt it in the microwave and add it with some Riches Whip, and that will make like a nice consistency. I think it's 8 ounces of Riches Whip, half a package of like Jello vanilla pudding mix or any Osem, whatever brand vanilla pudding mix, and some melted peanut butter or lotus butter or whatever flavoring you want, and just mix it until it gets stiff, and you can use that as a custard filling if you wanted to, or chocolate lotus filling or whatever. Okay, I'm gonna take these out because these are ready also. Whoa, they got huge. Okay, those are the only ones I'm trying for today. I have 6. This one got a little lopsided because it was on the plate and my plate was, they were touching each other, so they didn't come out nice and round, but okay. Nice, fluffy, big bakery style donuts, okay? So we're gonna let those cool off here. And while they're cooling off, we're gonna prepare your filling, okay? So I have a filling injector. It's really made for cupcakes. They sell them at Target or Amazon or wherever. But if you don't have one of these, you can use a medicine squirter, like when you give kids medicine, a medicine injector. Or you can use a piping bag with a tip at the end, okay? But if you're gonna use a piping bag, you'll have to cut a hole at the top of the donut rather than if you're using this, it'll actually pierce it right through, okay? If the donut's too hot when you fill it, the inside is kind of still cooking. So just like bread, when you take it out of the oven, it's still cooking a little bit. So if it's too hot, your inside's not gonna be nice and fluffy if you fill it. If you ever get a donut at the bakery sometimes, when you bite into it and there's a jelly layer, but then around the jelly layer is very, very doughy, not because they didn't cook it enough. Usually it's because they filled it too soon. If you fill it while it's still warm, while it's still hot, you can fill it while it's still hot, it's gonna be very, very doughy around your filling because it didn't have a chance to finish cooking, basically. Okay, so this is just gonna be the standard, basic, regular sufganiyah, obviously is with a jelly filling and confection sugar topping. And that's what we're gonna do here. But like I said, there's so many different flavors that you can do if you wanted to. Another thing that someone told me is super easy is you can take store-bought frosting, like I think Pillsbury, I think, or Dunkin' Hines.
Dunkin' Hines, any of them.
Yeah, but they're non-dairy, right? So you can take it and put them in your food processor and crush them up until they're really, really finely, like teeny tiny little crumbles. Or you can buy the, I think the brand it's a Jewish brand. I think it's like Kemach or Lieber is one of the, I don't know. They make like a chocolate cookie, maybe like a chocolate graham cracker crust, and you can break that up so you get a fine crumble. But basically you mix the Oreos in with the store-bought frosting, and you'll get like a cookies and cream filling. So that's also really, really yummy. And you can also do the chocolate frosting, or they make like a marshmallow one, marshmallow fluff. Any of those kind of things can be really good toppings. So you can make like a good artisan donut with like really basic little things. And then if you are doing a fun party for the kids, you can make all different kind of fillings for them, and then put out chocolate chips and sprinkles and all different kind of toppings, and they can make their own. Another fun one is doing the cookies and cream inside, or with Oreos on top with like your chocolate frosting on top. Or I'm actually going to do tomorrow for Shabbat, we're going to do a s'mores one. So I did Riches Whip, the one that I told you with the Riches Whip and the vanilla pudding mix, but instead of putting Nutella or peanut butter, I put marshmallow fluff in. So I got like a marshmallow filling, and I'm gonna put that inside, and then on top a chocolate glaze, and we're gonna put graham crackers, like graham cracker crust. I'm gonna sprinkle it on top, and some marshmallows, and fry them with like a torch in a broiler, not the broiler. What's it called?
Brulee torch.
Yeah, but it has a name. Blowtorch. A blowtorch for the kid, and then you make your marshmallows nice and like whatever. So it'll be like it'll be yummy. Whatever. You can be creative. There's a lot of fun things. Okay. So I'm using this filling because I bought it online on Amazon. If you are still making donuts between now and the end of Hanukkah, and you can get this by, next day, I suggest you do because it's such good filling. It's called Henry and Henry is the name of the brand. It does not have a kosher symbol on the actual product that they ship you because it comes out of a very large box, but you can email the OU and they will show you a copy of the certification. It is OU and it is non-dairy, and they have a bunch of flavors on Amazon. Again, it's called Henry and Henry. It's a very good filling. It's what most bakeries use. It's delicious. This is the strawberry one. But you can also just use a strawberry jelly, but I would warm it up first because it's too thick. You're not going to pipe it into the thing. So if you're using a regular store-bought strawberry jelly, put it in the microwave first, get it a little mixed up and mix it. So you can push it through your piping bag. You can also use a strawberry pie filling and put in the food processor to break up all the chunks of strawberries. That's a little bit sweeter, if you like a sweeter filling. That's the basic idea over there. Okay, and I'm just gonna fill my injector with my filling. Abby, can you get me the confectionery sugar in the meantime so I can be ready for that? Okay, a fun tip that I learned also, trick, is that if you wanna do a filling where you're gonna do, let's say you wanna do a strawberry cream filling, you can put your thing on the side and pipe your strawberry into one half of it, like this way, half, right, top, to the line, and then pipe cream cheese or one of the fillings that we just said into the top, so that when you squirt it out of your injector or whatever you're using, it's gonna swirl into your donut, and you're gonna have you're gonna get both flavors into your
Can I
donut.
jump in here, Nechama?
Yeah.
You can take 2 disposable bags
Yeah,
at the
double
same time and put it into that syringe.
into
Cut
what?
off. Take 2 disposable bags, one with the cream
Yeah.
cheese, one with the jam.
Yeah,
Put both bags, snip off the ends and put both bags into that syringe at the same time.
oh, into the syringe. No, but I think the only reason this works is because the jelly's from the fridge, so it's very stiff, and because this lays on its side, it will hold. But if you're using the piping bag, you would have to do it your way. Okay, so I'm gonna start the donuts that I did first because those are already cold to touch. That's why I know I'm ready to fill them, okay? And some people like to inject it from the top. Some people like to inject it on the side. The classic way, I think, is to inject it from the side, but it doesn't make a difference. And you're gonna take your thing and you're gonna push it in and you're gonna start to inject it. You're gonna know when you haven't enough because you're gonna be able to feel that it's full and you're gonna feel it start to fill up, okay? Hold on, let me move this so you can actually see what I'm doing over here.
I would like to do the taste tester.
Abby's gonna be the taste tester. Do you wanna come hold it for me so I can inject it? Because I can't do it with my hands. Actually, I got it, never mind. I don't need you. Okay, and you're gonna, you see how it's starting to puff up? I don't know, can you tell that it's getting fatter? As I'm injecting it, I feel it under my thumb. I feel it starting to get fatter. You pull it out, you'll know you have enough when it's starting to stick out of the end. And when you tap the top, you can tell if there's anything in here. You'll feel that it's, you can feel something beneath it, okay? You're gonna go through all of them and fill them, and I'll just do one from the top so you can see the idea from doing it from the top. And you wanna when you're filling it, you wanna kind of wiggle it around a little bit to get it all the way in and get a nice, good filling. Almost able. This one's gonna have a lot of filling, okay. Okay, I'm gonna fill them all up here. Are we doing these all? I think we're just doing these all jelly, why not, right? First night of Hanukkah, we'll have classic jelly donuts, okay, sufganiyot, right? Okay, nice and full over there. And then you're gonna take your confectionery sugar and a sifter. Don't use the same thing you fried with, it's just all I have because I told you my thing was for meat, so I couldn't use it for fry these donuts that I was making part of. So you're gonna just sprinkle some confectionery sugar over your donut. And there you have it. You have a bakery style sufganiyot. So this is the one with the things on the top. So I guess if you're doing different flavors, you're putting it on a platter, everyone would know which one was jelly because you would see it. And this is the one for the side. You can also do a chocolate glaze, super easy. You take the Duncan Hines frosting, put it in the microwave, let it melt a little, and once it's soft, take your donut, dip it in the frosting, twist it around till it comes off. The top will be a chocolate one. You do the same with vanilla, or you can make a vanilla glaze with like confectionery sugar and I think it's 2 cups of confectionery sugar and a tablespoon of corn syrup with a little bit of water or milk to thin it so you get the texture you like, and you'll have like a glaze. I'm still looking for the perfect Krispy Kreme fake knockoff Krispy Kreme glaze. If anyone ever finds that, I want it, but we don't have that. But Abby's gonna be my taste tester. She's gonna show us what the inside of this donut looks like, okay?
Well, Abby, let's see. We need a
Which
big
one you
bite.
eating? From the side or from- Just don't
Smile.
smile. Don't laugh at me because you're gonna,
It's too late now. You should
you're
have
gonna
said-
get it all over your face here. No, it's the holes on that side.
You have to eat the whole first, Abby.
See how it tastes.
I want to see that powdered dust again.
Hold on, look at the texture of that donut.
Whoa, beautiful.
Oh my gosh.
Beautiful.
Told you, the picture wasn't fake that we put on Facebook, right? This is real. We made them right here. You can make them, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Yay.
How to make this donut. But I want you to see around. I don't know if you can see this if I go closer.
Yeah, it's cool.
The
Yum.
portion is not doughy. You
So
get
my question is the same question as usual. Is it curbside, pickup, or delivery?
pickup.
Hi, Abby or Kelly, whoever that is.
You have to
Hi,
make it-
Pals.
Hi.
Okay, who has questions for me? So I know we went really fast through it. It's not really something that, the whole process takes time, so doing it on a Zoom, you'd be here with me for like,
Do you have to get the donuts that brown in order for the middle to be cooked?
well, yes, because if you're, this was with the oil was at 360, okay? My oil spiked up and it got really, really hot at one point, and it got like that. You said it's very dark, that's the bottom half. This is 360, this is not even very hot. That's the minimum you want. If you have your oil too cold, when you fry your donuts, the texture inside is not gonna be light and fluffy like that. The texture inside is going to be greasy. You're gonna have a very greasy donut. No one likes greasy donuts.
I love oil.
So the answer is yes. Okay, and if you don't have one of these things that I have and you're trying to fill your donuts with just a piping bag and a tip, what I suggest is that you take a paring knife, something that's a sharp, whatever, and cut a little hole at the top like that, or cut a little hole in here to get it, where your filling is gonna go. And then you'll kind of hold it with a little pressure to squeeze it open, and then inject your filling in here, if you're doing it with the bag, okay?
They do make a tip, Nechama, that simulates that.
They do, and I
Filling
have one of
donuts.
those. I have one of those tips. It's actually called the filling tip. But you see how wide this tip is at the end here? So
Yeah.
there's room to go through, especially the strawberry jelly, which has, chunks in it, or if you're doing an Oreo or whatever. If you're using the tip that's the injector tip, it's very skinny, and I find that the stuff gets stuck and it doesn't go through. So you're better off using just a regular, like a wider tip and poking a hole. I learned that lesson the hard way. And if you're gonna use like a baby medicine syringe, take a really sharp scissor, like a chicken shear, and cut the tip off. It will come off, and then you'll get a nicer, wider edge, because it's so skinny, you're not gonna be able to get anything out. I got another bag of this stuff, by the way. Okay, also, a lot of times, I don't know what you guys have there, but you could go to your local kosher bakery or pizza shop that sells donuts, and you can ask them to buy filling. If you wanna use like a real, the real jelly filling that they use at the bakeries, they'll sell it to you. Most times they will. But you'll be surprised what you find at the store. Like you can use lemon pie filling or lemon curd. You can do a lemon meringue donut. Frosting is a really good one. Lotus butter is so easy. Menachem, do they sell the Baker's Choice products by you? You're not on there anymore?
What was that?
Do they sell Baker's Choice stuff by you?
I don't think so. Never heard of it.
Extra grocery store? No? They
What
have,
is it?
it's a, like a Jewish brand from New York, but they sell a lot of non-dairy fillings now this time of year. They have like, they had a
I'm
non-dairy.
sure the East Side
caramel.
Kosher Deli has either that
They
or something.
probably have it. So there you could buy, they sell a cream, it's already made, it's called a vanilla mousse, and it comes in a little container, and you can use it for donut fillings. That's the basic gist of it. I wanna fry up one of my, did my oil get too cold already? No, okay, hold on. I'm gonna fry up also one of the ones that were donut shaped, so I want you to see how those, proof up, and you'll know when those are ready also. I'm gonna show you, I'm gonna get the one that was longer. Okay, I don't know if you remember what it looked like when I showed it to you before you put it to rise, but you see how it like almost doubled in its thickness? Look how thick that is. And the hole in the center started to close up. Okay, that's how you know it's ready. Again, you touch it, it's gonna spring right back to you. And you're gonna fry it with the paper like we did before. It's gonna be like a Krispy Kreme donut, okay? And these are the ones that you'll dip into a glaze and put sprinkles on or whatever. You know, you're not filling these. So these are just regular, plain old donuts. As soon as my oil gets hot, I'm gonna dump those in there because my oil's almost hot. And that is it. That's it for the basic donuts, for the soup ganiyot donuts. I have, anything else? That's it. I don't have anything else to fry. No questions? Nobody? That's it. If you wanna email me, Manal can give you guys my email if you have questions on how to make the different donuts. And that is basically, you can also, by the way, this recipe, you can make a half recipe really easily. You don't have to do the whole thing because it makes 30 donuts. So the recipe halves beautifully. You don't have to worry about that. That's about it.